just guys who like working in the theater, you know, working on construction, maybe some lighting, maybe some sound. It's just people.
Techies, who are they, and what is it exactly that they do? For centuries this question has troubled mankind, but today we bring you answers.
Well, some would say that they're a subhuman species. I would not. I would say that they're an offshoot of the hominid branch, somewhere between Homo habilis and Zinjanthropus.
We work hard, we build great sets, and the fun thing about being a techie is we always know when actors screw up. I would definitely say that's the high point.
Typical techie is someone who doesn't bathe very often very scruffy and dirty. I tend not to shake their hands a lot.
We build theater sets, make it sound like we do something else.
They build reality three-dimensionally, and then they light that reality, and they make sure we can hear that reality. Without them, the magic doesn't happen.
It's kind of their own little subculture that no one really understands. Freshman techies are kind of like little minions and slaves, and they do most of the work. And the upper class techies make the others, underclass techies, do the job. Often humiliating them in the process, making them feel bad about who they are, and insulting them and their families and their mothers.
Well, I mean, everybody's got their traditions. Tech, we just have our little ones, you know. We like to just kind of put our own feel on the stage.
We definitely have some traditions, like there are certain tools that we only use a certain way, not many of them. But there are some things we've made, there's some art that we add to every once in a while after certain things happened. There's certain things we do before shows, like the circle and the spell out.
Before a show, while the cast is warming up, the techies traditionally run around the school, banging lockers, daring each other to feats of machismo, leaving coins on religious statues. It's called the tech run, and woe betide anybody who happens to be, you know, stumbling around campus at the time this tech run occurs, because it's like, you know, the stampede scene in The Lion King. I went on the tech run with them once just to prove I could. It nearly killed me.
We tend to adhere to our traditions pretty strongly. We don't really like to throw out anything.
They also have a tradition of leaving certain artifacts in the booth, which somehow are really important to them, even though they won them at some half-assed little gimcrack game at a pizza parlor. They tack it up to the wall in the booth and they think it's like the Rosetta Stone. There was a very famous story that Mr. Harden could probably relate to you, where we had to use a mannequin of a woman in a show. And the show was over. It was about a year later, and some of the techies stumbled upon it in the prop room. They then attached light bulbs to the chestal area of the dummy, gave it a wig, put makeup on it, and Larry Harden confronted them and saying, "I'm not going to allow you to turn this object into a woman." But that was the nearest thing that some of them had to a date.
I once, the stage wasn't set the way it needed to be before the house opened, so I made them not do tech run. And I made the crew stay to sweep the stage and get the stage ready for when we opened the house and the audience came in. It was a terrible show. Everyone hated me, and I'm okay with that. The next morning when I opened the theater, now I was the one who locked it up, right? No one else was in there. It was late at night and I was in the next morning. The tech pole had fallen down. There's new tradition. We didn't have tech run when I was a student here. We didn't write all over the walls when I was a student here. We didn't do all of these things.
Over the years, I've discovered that they have kind of like tribal needs. So they have a lot of traditions. They react to each other certain ways. They consider Benson Theater literally their home, not like metaphorically, literally their home. They're constantly begging me to sleep over. Could we just live there?
I seriously upset the tech gods.
But not all is good for the techies, for a new building with a new theater presents a threat that could destroy their culture, traditions, and land.
Our land, we have land. I mean, we just work in the theater.
Well, you see, now this is what's fascinating. I know a lot of older techies will say, now, it's a new theater. How can we possibly have traditions there when we've had all these traditions there in Benson? The problem is, techies go through that. They're very conservative. You should understand that culturally and socially, perhaps politically, I'm not sure, but certainly culturally and socially, they're very conservative. They're so used to the old way. Even if the old way wasn't very good, they were so used to the old way. Well, the same is going to be true of the new theater. After about 4 years, there'll be a group of technicians who can't remember doing tech at anything but the new theater. And so over the years, there'll be alums who can remember Benson Theater and what that culture was like. And then there'll be other techie alums who remember the new theater and what that was like. And everybody will be okay.
New theater, I mean, I think it's going to be good. I mean, it's going to take away some things from tech, like our ability to just be as sketchy as we want with it. But, I mean, it should be good for the school. It should be good for the program. I mean, it looks nice.
I'm really looking forward to having all the new stuff, like better lighting equipment, better sound equipment, a better theater, bigger stage, more seats, more flexible lighting board, which I'm quite excited for.
We're going to have a new playground. We're going to have an amazing facility in which to hurt it, create primal cave drawings, smash a hole into the wall and paint on it.
I know it's been the home of my kind for a long time, but things have to change. I'm definitely going to make it my personal responsibility to bring as much of the tradition as possible to the new theater. The asshole, he's more of a trickster figure, really. He tends to give us set designs that are close to impossible, either for our time frame or physically. He tends to promise us things like a good show, and then will give us requests in the middle of the show that we had no idea about and claim that he'd requested them earlier. Really, he just gets in the way for all the techies. He does his best, and as most stories go, tricksters are defeated, so the bald asshole normally is worked around by the techies.
I hate the techies. I don't hate them all. If you do what I say, then we're fine. Don't get the job done, and done right, then people may end up losing their lives.